Record. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome. Whoops, let's mute these lines out. There we go. All right. So, good evening to everyone. Welcome, Jeanette Tavali. Welcome to the call. I've muted everyone, so if you need to speak, you can unmute yourself manually. For those of you calling in, it'll be a little bit harder, but I don't know who's calling on that 371 line, probably Tijuana, who tried to call in. Welcome to the Mastermind Book Club. This book club is not about me, it's about we, it's about us. We're here to grow together. We're here to get to the next level by learning about the topics of success mindset. Most of us pick up books without a specific purpose except to learn, which is very important. But when you want to learn a specific topic, like for example, learn about marriages or learn about investing or learn about growth or learn about sales and so on, there is a specific set of books that you can pick up, and these will help you to grow. This is why this group was created, so that we can all come together once a week and talk about and hear your inputs on different books that right now we're focusing on the success mindset. So sorry, there are people texting me that they want to come on. So please don't get started, but we've got to get the ball rolling here. So I just want to. There we go. Okay, so I'm trying to unmute everyone else, but somebody who has a line that is constantly speaking. So I'm sorry, I just tried to get them on. So again, if anybody wants to unmute themselves, they will have to do it manually, and those calling in, I believe it's *3 if you need to. I believe that's what it is, or *6. It's one of the two, I believe. But anyhow, so we're talking here about the compound effect. What is the compound effect? Well, I wanted to summarize it simply. I saw one of the reviews on YouTube, and then all of a sudden this idea came up, and it's practically with one of the businesses that I'm involved in. I was like, wow, this is very similar. So there are two types of employees, right? So what happens if one employee is given 30 minutes a day to work on his goals, and he is only paid $51 the first week, but every week that he continues to work at 30 minutes a day, he gets to increase himself at a 10% rate. So what happens on to employee one compared to employee two, who is paid $5,000 a month to work 30 minutes a day, but he has no set schedule. He can do it whenever he wants, and he can get off whenever he wants. So what happens? So the first month, employee A makes $51, and employee B makes $5,000. So obviously, employee B would make fun of employee A and say, "Hi, I've got 5,000, while you're getting 51 bucks." So month two comes around, so he'd get 10% of that, which would be $61, and employee B would get 10,000. Right? These numbers don't add up, right? But if you keep going, compounding the 10% every week, as you get to month three, it comes out to 200 and what is it? It comes out to about $72 for employee A and $15,000 for employee B. But when you get to the yearly mark, employee A gets $15,500, and employee B at $5,000 a month now has $60,000 a year salary. So yes, when you start out compounding your own goals, you won't see much progress in the beginning. But if you stick to it, within the 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year range. As Darren Hardy says, it can take 5 to 7 years on average to get your goals going. So what happens at the second year? Well, before we get to the total of 24 months, 16 months, the employee A gets the $86,000 salary, while employee B has an $80,000 salary. In other words, now employee A has caught up with his 10% weekly increase. Now, by the time it's 2 years, employee A will have $2.2 million in salary, while employee B will have $120,000. So $120,000 is not much. That is how the compound effect works, is you putting in that small commitment on a daily basis to grow your skills, whatever it may be. In the beginning, you're not going to see the fruit of it. But as time grows and comes about, the growth will come multiplied. So that is also a clear difference between a regular employee and someone who is an entrepreneur who wants to self-educate and wants to grow. This is what this book is about. Basically, taking that time for you so that you grow, just like the swimmer Thorpe had. He worked for 12 years, just like it says in the book, and he only took one day off to go to I think it was a junior high school prom. 1 day out of the 12 years. I mean, could any of us do that? I don't think I've lived up to that. I think I've had more fun than most people do, but I'm still on my goals, and that's what I'm letting you guys know, is that in order to get your goals accomplished, it's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to impede your progress as long as you stick to it. Most of us don't want to stick to it. Now, tell me, have any of you gotten anything else out of this book? Because I don't want it to be just about me speaking. I'd like to hear some of your input on this audio book or book. I know some of you have read it. I've read this book. I've listened to it a few times, but I'd like to know. I'm going to unmute the line. So if those of you who have background noise, you can mute yourself back up. Here we go. Okay, I hear. I think Charles has some bad sound. Okay, there we go. No, it's not Charles, but I have a couple of you unmuted. Does any one of you would like to input on this book? Dennis, are you there?
I thought Charles, yeah, I'm here. I thought Charles was going to say something, but can you hear me okay?
As well, but
well, I'll give you a quick note. I love listening to Darren Hardy. I'm actually part of one of his other business opportunities that he has going. But one of the biggest things that I take away, of course, always is you can never know when the little ripples that you've sent out there will come back to you as a wave. Putting yourself into an environment where you feel like you're a small pebble, but you're going to start an energy based on your momentum that somebody who's a tidal wave is going to come back and feed you back even just that small ripple that you're putting out there. So just get out there and stay consistent on the effort, and the compound effect will come back at you like a tidal wave.
Right. That's right. That's right. And thank you, Dennis, for sharing. It will come back as a tidal wave. And there are many ways to look at this. You can look at it from the perspective of losing weight. You can look at it from the perspective of getting into financial freedom. You can look at it from the perspective of building a better relationship. Whatever it may be, you've got to work at it. It's not going to happen overnight. And yeah, it would be great to have instant results, just like everyone does with their social feeds on getting likes. That would be great, but that's not reality for growth. and education and experience. Darren Hardy spent 1,000 hours just learning about Jim Rohn's life.
Wow.
How many of us have done that? Who have we studied that is important to our goals, to our achievements in whatever aspect of life? Spending 1,000 hours studying on Jim Rohn. I mean, I've studied some of Jim Rohn's stuff, but I haven't spent 1,000 hours on anyone yet. So we just got to make up our mind. Sometimes we're afraid of choosing. Just make a choice and stick to it. That's what he says. That's what Darren Hardy says. He has a very successful magazine called Success Magazine, which by the time he was 24 got him to be a millionaire. Now, obviously, when he started out, it was many years ago. He was very young, and he had a father who was very rigorous with him and who told him, you know, we don't want you to quit unless you're showing bone or you're, you know, you can't get out on the field. That he used to be, I believe it was a football coach. So this stuck with Darren Hardy, and we can build that. It doesn't matter that we're not 20 years old. It doesn't matter that you're 40 or 50 or 60. As long as you start doing something for you, it's better than not ever getting started. It's better than regretting not getting started. So the importance of this book, does anyone else want to share what the importance of this book is to them?
David, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you, Charles. Before we thought you were going to talk, but we couldn't hear you.
I'm driving, so forgive me.
Okay.
Listen, what I really appreciate you just hit on, his father was a football coach, and how his father didn't know anything else but to instill the disciplines in him. And that's one of the things that I really got out of the book is the discipline part, how you keep at something till it becomes a habit. And even if you fall off, you go back and you start it again until that thing becomes a habit. So the father was very hard on the discipline. And that's what I believe we have to practice to be successful is our discipline. If we can focus on being more disciplined, we could definitely get further in our goals and our achievements.
So one other step that I'd like to share with you on that Charles just hit upon is, how are we measuring ourselves on a daily basis? How did you perform? For example, Darren would say, did you save any money today? Or did you spend less today? Or in reference to money, are you contributing anywhere? But it's got to be about you so that you can make it about others once you master yourself in those techniques. So whatever it may be, whether it's writing a book, losing weight, as I said, it could be health, it could be relationships, it could be leadership skills, it could be sales skills, whatever it may be. Don't think that you're going to figure it out alone. Although, if you stick to the books, yeah, you probably will. But if you study someone who's done it before, just as Darren Hardy studied Jim Rohn, and he studied him for 1,000 hours, I don't know, maybe it could take you 300 hours. Maybe it might take you 2,000 hours. Whatever it may be, just don't give up on getting your goals accomplished. And one of those things that assists you in getting those goals accomplished is we have 50 members in this group. I suggest a lot of you reach out to each other, not just to hold each other accountable. And I'm going to tell you what the difference is here. Each of you should have a contract. Let's live up to that contract, not for me, but for you. If you haven't been able to create that contract is really, really powerful. Okay? Every day I ask myself, did I read the amount that I'm supposed to read? Did I perform the way I told the class that I was supposed to perform? it creates an awareness. I feel embarrassment if I don't. And the truth is, I've missed out on a day or two. So the compound effect is that in the short run, you might miss out a day or two, but in the long run, if you get back on the path, you're still building towards success. And the reality is that there's no easy way to get it done. However, as a group, we can accomplish much, much more. Now, there are three things that Darren Hardy also recommends here, and these are the three things. One is he breaks up his day, okay? So how does he break up his day? He has this morning time where when he wakes up at 5:30 in the morning, he has 8 minutes of what he calls the 8 minutes of creating gratitude, being grateful for the things that he's been given, sending love to a specific person, and what's his number one goal to do for the day, or the three top things that he needs to do today. So these are some of the habits that we need to produce. They don't have to be perfect as he has them. It could be in a different method. Like I like Benjamin Franklin's 13 Virtues. However, my virtues are a little bit different than his because his were from, from the 1700s, right? Well, the virtues today are a little bit different. You know, they're more about getting out of debt for some people. They are about saying the truth for others. They are about relationships with their kids and their wife, because it's a completely different world now. Most of us don't want to set boundaries and rules for our kids. And that is creating a challenge in people's families. It's happening everywhere. So you can't hide from this. You either know it because you were raised with it, or you weren't raised with it like I wasn't. I didn't know about rules. I was never given rules at home. I figured it out on my own. Tough, but I had to figure it out on my own. So this is part one of Darren Hardy. And then part two is 30 minutes to read on a daily basis. Now, I suggest that on your contract, you say 10 minutes, because once you do 30 minutes, you'll feel good about going beyond your contract. Now, Darren Hardy has 1 hour of focus of whatever his main work is for the day. And then he has 15 minutes to calibrate his top 3 goals, which he usually does this at night. And what does he do? His top 3 goals during the day, for the week, for the month, for the year, for the next 5 years. Because whatever you're doing today should be in alignment for the next several years. It should be in alignment with your life's purpose. Most people will go out there and do a business plan, but what I assist people is creating their life plan first. Because when you create your life plan, then you can build it around your family time. You can build it around whatever other time you want. For example, your travel time. So if you like to travel twice a year, then you build your work ethic around that. So that's why you need your life goals. There's some people who love to work 80 hours a week, and there's some of us who like to work a few hours a week. So which one are you? Whatever it is, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And lastly, who are the top 5 people that you are hanging out with? Very, very important. Now, how did Darren Hardy break this down? 3 ways. Who are the top 5 people that you're hanging out with professionally? Who are the top 5 people that you are hanging out with personally? And who are the top 5 acquaintances that you talk to on a regular basis? Now, when was the last time that you asked any of these people, how do I show up to you? Do you think I'm a person that's succeeding in his goals? Do you think I'm a person who's crazy? Do you think I'm a person who's lost? Because if you don't ask these questions, who is going to measure you? You can measure yourself to a certain extent, but then there are others. Like I speak to Dennis and Reggie on occasion, and we talk about these things to a certain extent. We measure ourselves. Dennis challenges me a lot, but I challenge him a lot. You know, we need this in our lives in order to grow. So the compound effect is about not having your full day occupied on one thing. You have to balance it out. You have to have family time. You have to have kids time. Some people will say family, your wife is only your family, and your kids is something else. You got to have time for balancing whatever lifestyle you have. As I was coming on this call, Charles was on. I told Charles, I need 2 more minutes. I'm doing therapies with my daughter. So I've got to get these therapies done. Otherwise, I can't perform in a class setting like this unless I do what I need to do with my family. Does anyone have any questions in reference to the compound effect? Let me see if I need to unmute you again. Let's see here.
Can you hear me, David?
Yep, loud and clear.
It's not really a question, but a lot of what Darren Hardy puts in this book is about what Charles said, you know, being disciplined, but also being accountable to yourself for your own time. What are you doing? Where are you contributing your time to? I don't know if it was in this book or not, but I remember him talking about timing himself for where he knew his effective time was. So he knew his effective time was in front of potential clients, and he timed himself. And it turned out being only minutes a day compared to hours that he thought it was. So being self-aware of your effective time and where are you wasting time that you can delegate out. But the long-term commitment to the discipline is the reward. So definitely a lot of things need to be focused on, but the awareness of what are you being disciplined to? Things that are holding you back, things that are maintaining your level of survival, things that are your gap that you're focusing on instead of your resources. So a lot of content to this book that I definitely have to go over again. But 100%, thank you for putting this book in the list.
Awesome. Well, it's a specific list so that we go through success mindset books one after the other, so that you're not just getting one book and then moving on to a completely different set of books. That's why we set it up this way. Thank you, Dennis. You're right on target with the topics here. Does anybody else want to add on before I continue to talk?
Hey, David, I do. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hey.
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to the book club. It's really nice having a place to go where people are talking about it. This book really reminded me of Jeff Olson, The Flight Edge, and I really appreciated this book. I hadn't read it before. But I really like the whole concept of it, and I'm definitely going to read it again because you always catch something different the second time. I'm just curious because to ask the group, how is everybody going to implement these concepts? Like, are you guys starting like with baby steps, one thing at a time, or what's the best way?
So, Jeanette, one of the things I recommend is reaching out. Like I have a Calendly, and you can reach out.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Whoops, hold on. I'm trying to mute some people here. Hold on. Did I mute you? Yes, I did. Hold on. All right. So what we do is I have a calendar, and I tell people get on my calendar and let's talk one-on-one about your goals, what you're focusing on, because a lot of people perceive that their 168-hour work week must be filled up completely, and that is not true. Your 168-hour work week needs for you to fill up with enjoyment time as well as work time. You do not have to work like a horse. You have to work intelligently. Just like the example I gave you, is that person A worked 30 minutes a day on his goals. And eventually, after 2 years' time, this person made these almost, 10 times more than person B of whatever salary they were making. So don't believe that you have to have the busiest schedule out there, that you need to fill up every hour of your life. However, you need to have a specific time to work on improving you, because we know we all have to work, we know we all have to produce, but then how much time are you dedicating to you? If you can do 4 hours, which I recommend, and the next book will explain that more, yeah, go for it. Dedicate 4 hours for your growth. But if you can only do 30 minutes, keep working on it. It's going to take you a bit longer, but do not get discouraged. Eventually, you will get there. Now, just want to tell you this one more example that is set in this book, and that is Darren Hardy tells us, what happens if your child is in the next building and there's a fire? Right? Whoops, I said this wrong. So let's just start that all over again. You didn't hear that. All right, guys? I jumped again. If I offer you $20 to get on top of a wooden board to go across from building to building, would you do it? Obviously, the answer is no. No one's going to do it for $20, right? But what happens if your son or daughter is stuck in the building next door? Would you get on a wooden plank and go across? We don't need to pay you. I'm certain as a parent, you would go into survival mode and you wouldn't even think of it twice. You would go across without any payment. So whatever your purpose or your why is should be the reason that you're compelled to have this compound effect. See, most of us are walking like zombies on a daily basis, having our schedules completely full. How are we going to ever accomplish getting me time when it's about educating time? All right? So stop sleepwalking in our complete daily choices. All right? You can have some TV time, but not a full day, because most people have TV time all day. Now, I took some notes, but I don't want to go through it all. Just briefly, let me take 1 minute so that we can end this call here. So let's see. I put here, the first step towards change is awareness. So if you're not aware of your choices, then who are you talking about your choices? Be conscious about your choices by keeping a pad and paper, either a pad or a paper, that you can write down whatever choices you're making on a daily basis. It could be on expenses. It could be on eating habits. It could be stressful, stress-related. It could be work-related. Whatever it may be, you've got to figure out what your number one priority is on a daily basis, right? Now, for example, these are 2 examples that Darren Hardy gives on love. I am doing this to provide a better future for blank. Just have simple contracts for yourself. Or hate, I'm doing this to prove blank wrong, or I'm doing this to defeat blank. Whatever it is, remember that you've got to have a purpose for doing it. Today I spoke to someone and I asked them, who is their role model? And this person responded to me that it was God. Now, none of you would know this person that I spoke to, but yeah, we all have a spiritual force as a role model. But I mean, as a living person who went through whatever you're going through or similar to what you're going through, you need to have a role model. Why? So that you can research, so that you can read about their lives, to find out what they did to get through whatever they had to go through. This makes it easier for you. Believe it or not, it makes it much easier. And lastly, you have to be conscious about your choices by keeping it written down. Because if you're not keeping your choices written down, how else are you going to measure yourself? I have a list that I keep a record of myself, and I believe I cut it down. I used to have like 20 to 30 things to do on a daily basis. I've cut it down to about 10 to 12. We can work on this together, because I found out that the less I have on my plate, the easier it is for me to grow. Do not confuse doing too much with 30 minutes of solid, continuous work on whatever your number one goal may be, or your top 3 goals may be. All right? Last, again, I would like to ask you, does anyone have any other questions or anything that they want to add to Darren Hardy's Compound Effect book before we end this call?
Hey, David, this is Stacy. How's it going?
Stacy, glad to have you here, Stacy.
Hey. So I just thought it was a good, I know it was touched on a little bit, a good follow-up to what we read last week with the Kaizen.
Yeah.
The Kaizen, listening to it, it was a lot more structural and kind of a business mindset. So it took me a little bit to I understood the concept, but it was hard to kind of relate to it because he was speaking more about different businesses and how they implemented the Kaizen effect. But then now listening to the compound effect and how that is also kind of talking about a similar concept as far as breaking things down and working on them a little bit at a time in small increments. And the style of this book kind of helped me. It started to take me back to kind of what the Kaizen was talking about, but a little bit more in a relatable fashion. It's definitely good to see the book, how they kind of build upon each other and allows you to see them in different contexts of a similar concept of, breaking the big stuff down and just doing one small task at a time. So I know one of my challenges is I tend to overthink everything. And then I know we talked about it being a perfectionist and then just seeing, you have this big idea that you want to do, but then you have a hard time breaking it down at least I have a hard time breaking it down sometimes in the little pieces because I get so caught up in the excitement of the end result that I kind of lose focus on the little things that need to get done in order to get me to that big result.
Correct. Thank you, Stacy. And that is true. That, Stacy, we can work on that on one-on-one call. But the truth is, we should be asking ourselves questions on a daily basis. This next book will even make it more clearer because it's also on mindset, and I'm going to put it up in a few minutes in the chat group. This next book is also short. It's also 5 hours on audio. I listened to it too. I listened to this Compound Effect 3 times this past week, but I do it because YouTube allows you to listen to it very quickly. I don't know if Audible allows you to listen to it quickly, but I would love to join.
Audible does.
It does. So that's
I cleaned mine up.
If you like the book, then you listen to it again. If you think you missed something, then you listen to it again as well. And that's power in there. So thank you very much for sharing, Stacey. Anybody else before we end this call? No? All right. So thank you again. This is your Mastermind Book Club. We together form the Mastermind. There is no one person that is the Mastermind. We all are part of the Mastermind. We have big things coming up. One of them is eventually creating a full book for yourself. I recommend move. Taking notes as you are listening to these books or reading them. Why? Because you never know when you're going to learn something that you might have to put it on your own book. All right? So take notes, just like I do, because I will be adding them to my book as I create them. All right? Thank you, everyone. This is David Diaz.
David,
Yes.
hello?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. This is Ty from New York. Actually, I just wanted to say I got a lot from that book, and it was so interesting because it made it seem like it doesn't really take like a lot to be a success. It just takes dedication, like you stated, and then the Kaizen, like just like 30 minutes to an hour a day for a long period of time to master something. So I appreciate that, David. Thank you so much.
Great. If you want to get on my calendar as well, I will put it up in the group again for those of you new to this call. I thank you, everyone. And as Dennis says, 2 millimeters of disciplined course correction, that's all we need. We think we have to dedicate 8, 10, 12 hours a day. That's good, but then you're hurting the other parts of you. So let's get some balance in our lives back. All right? So the next book as well, I'm going to post it in a few minutes in the chat group. And thank you, everyone. This is David Diaz from New York signing off. And again, I'd love to speak to each and every one of you one-on-one. Have a wonderful week. Until next Tuesday. Looking forward to it. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, David.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank
You got it.
Reggie. Oh,
Have a good night, Jen.
Angela, Louis, and Reggie. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.